Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Krissy Teegerstrom. I am an artist. I currently live in Austin, Texas, and I am focusing on using secondhand materials in my artwork and primarily textiles. I am a self-taught artist. I didn't go to art school, but I was a really creative kid. I had so many ideas. I loved coloring and I creating things, but unfortunately my childhood was abusive. I had abuse and neglect in my childhood. It was traumatic, and that is just not conducive for self-belief, self-worth, self-expression. So I actually shut down my creativity for a long time. It's taken me years to get back to my own creativity, to rediscover my own voice, and to give myself permission to create freely and to kind of take up space in the world. And that actually did really influence a recent project of mine, which in 2022, I created a body of work called I Was Already Everything. And this came to me, the inspiration for this came to me in a vision. All at once, I saw it in my mind's eye, and I saw a series of capes all suspended within the white walls of what looked like an art gallery, which at the time I had never shown at a gallery, and I had just thought, what is this wild idea? And I didn't understand what the point was of moving forward, but at this point in my life, I do follow my intuition, so I did make all the capes. There's 7 capes, and each one represents a fragment of myself that I lost through trauma or societal conditioning. And I made each of these 7 capes while going through some deep therapy, and then I put them all in the same room together, and it's like owning parts of our shadow self or owning the truth of what has happened to us in order to become whole again. And the capes symbolize these aspects of myself that I recovered through therapy. And it's fascinating to me that through visual artwork, you can tell your entire truth, and it does communicate to people, but you don't actually have to say in words what you've experienced, yet you can convey this truth in a really vulnerable way. So it's a way of being both vulnerable and protected. I think that translating it through visual art is a way of it's a safe way of expressing yourself. So that was a tremendous experience creating that, and then I exhibited it for the first time in March of 2022, and I will be exhibiting it again in the future. The biggest influences to me in my artwork are just my own journey, my own recovery of self, as I increase my self-understanding and self-awareness, I like to use my artwork to express that. And I would say that other influences are nature and light and the unseen. I get my visions and my inspiration through visions. So creating a calm nervous system and meditating and kind of tapping into the unseen are all influences on my work. Right now, I'm focusing on making another new body of work. I exhibited more capes. They're wearable sculptures. I exhibited some in Marfa, Texas at the Wrong Gallery in May and June of 2023. And I have another show coming up in Austin, Texas in December 2023 at the Yard Dog Gallery. So I'm making new work for that, and I'm focusing on just finding my audience and trusting my own voice. I think that can be the biggest challenge of being an artist, is to, it's I think there's plenty of reasons to not create art. I think there's more people that don't understand art making than do understand it. There's a lot of discouragement out there. So I would say the biggest challenge is to not talk yourself out of it. I think we need other artist friends who we can call up and they just get it and they can encourage us in certain moments of self-doubt, because the self-doubt is going to come for all of us, I think, most of us anyway. And non-artists just don't get it, and it can be really discouraging to try to be a dreamer and someone who creates something out of nothing in this world. So we just have to make sure that we don't let anything discourage us too much. The advice I would give to my younger self is along these lines, which is just trust yourself, trust what you love, trust what you're curious about, trust your intuition. And I think it's really natural to question ourselves and to seek outside of ourselves, but I have found the most peace and joy and love by creating a safe space inside myself and by trusting myself. As far as have I ever tried any unconventional mediums or techniques, I would say yes. Using textiles is not that common, and I use exclusively secondhand materials. So I love the earth. I'm really passionate about going gently on the earth's resources. I think we have a lot of work to do as a planet to save the planet and to not destroy it. So I do my part by using only secondhand materials, and you could see that as limiting in a way, but I have a secondhand store in my hometown, and I get so inspired by the slow discovery of materials. I think I would be overwhelmed if I could choose anything, I would be overwhelmed. So I actually like having to get creative within the parameters of what you're able to find at any one time. When I'm working, I sometimes listen to music and sometimes it's silent. With sewing, I do a lot of sewing since I'm using textiles, and that can take, sometimes you're doing math or you're having to focus, make some decisions, and I can't always listen to anything while I'm doing that. Other times I can use music to really pump me up or get me energized. I made a playlist for each cape that I made in that body of work I mentioned. I Was Already Everything. And because I spent dozens of hours on each of those pieces, so listening to each playlist when I was working on that particular piece definitely helped get me in the zone. The best reaction someone has had to my artwork, I really love it when somebody sees something I've made and maybe they look twice and cock their head to the side and just pause. That is my favorite reaction, because if someone engages with it and it makes them consider, or it makes them stop, or it makes them think, or it makes them question, to me, that's the invitation, and that's the highest compliment. Whether you like it or not, is almost less important than if it causes you to think twice or question something for yourself, within yourself. And what I hope people take away from my work is I really hope people feel inspired or encouraged. That, to me, that's what I hope for the overall takeaway. In that body of work, I Was Already Everything, I do deal with some dark subjects like grief or rage. But I made a pact with myself that I would create those things only if I was able to make them beautiful. So we all have darkness and struggles, but if we can, I think the trick is to make it beautiful or to come to terms with it in some way. So yeah, ultimately uplift people with my art. I thank you for this opportunity. You can find me at Krissy Teegerstrom on Instagram. That's KRISSYTEEGERSTROM. You can find me at KrissyTeegerstrom.com. Or if you can't spell that at all, I do design work under the name Featherweight Studio. So you can find me there too. Thanks for listening, and whatever you're passionate about, don't give up and keep going.